Lieutenant Governor Phil Scott, thank you for being with us. You are running for a lieutenant governor. I've been doing a bit of research. Apparently Vermont has just about the weakest lieutenant governor by constitution, and
I'm glad you finished that statement.
In the Senate, right? I didn't mean you. I meant the office as outlined by the Constitution. It's generally considered a part-time job, and I take it is for you. You still spend some time with your construction company?
Well, I do, but I would venture to say that it's more full-time than some people would imagine. I do go into my business every morning at 6:30 to open up, and I stay there until around 8 o'clock, and then I head off to my lieutenant governor's duties.
So you're really only there for a couple of hours in your
that's right.
Your
and,
business.
I stay in contact with emails and phones and so forth, and then I go back at night, and I have a tendency to work a little bit late, and then I open the mail and mop the floor and do whatever else is needed.
Oh, I bet you've hired somebody to mop the floor.
Actually, it's an interesting story. When I was in the Senate as well, I'd go back every single night and mop the floor at the office, because it would give you a sense of accomplishment. At least you could see something being done.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, one of your duties is that is in the Constitution, the duties of Lieutenant Governor, is to break a tie vote, which isn't precisely technically the way to put it, but to make if your vote would be decisive.
Right.
Have you ever actually done that?
Actually, I have on a number of occasions, a number being around probably 5 or 6 times during my 4 years, which when I served in the Senate over 10 years, I don't know if I remembered more than one time that I saw that happen.
And were these major pieces of legislation?
I wouldn't say
procedural?
Major, some procedural and some in amendments and so forth. So they had broad ramifications, and it certainly keeps you on your toes. And you wouldn't think, with a somewhat lopsided Senate, 23 Democrats, 7
right.
Republicans, that you'd have many ties.
No.
But it's interesting that there's I guess some centrists within the Senate, and it has led to very close votes. So again, one of the trepidations, I guess, of becoming lieutenant governor for me after serving in the Senate was whether or not I could stand behind the podium without and keeping interest over a long period of time, just being glued to the podium, so to speak. But it's been interesting for me, and it forces you to listen, because you never know when you're going to have to vote.
So you have not been bored back there?
No, I've been surprising myself, because boredom was something that I was actually worried about, I guess, when I was first elected.
Because does this mean that as a senator you were sometimes bored?
Well, you can be.
Yeah.
It is
Right.
a long debate and bills that are very lengthy, and maybe you have intimate knowledge of the bills themselves, and you've already been through them through your committee process, and so there are times when you can find other things you'd like to be doing.
Another one of your duties, this is not in the Constitution, is you're on the Committee on Committees, right?
That's correct.
And is that in statute, or is that Senate rules?
Senate rules.
Okay. And who else is on that committee?
That would be the Senate Pro Tem.
Right.
And then one Committee on Committee members at large voted on by the Senate.
And so it's a 5-person?
3-person.
3. So it's you, John Campbell, and
Dick Mazza.
And now it's Dick
has
Mazza.
been.
So theoretically, it's 2 Democrats and a Republican.
Right.
And you could be outvoted, but because of the person, the specific personalities and your relationships with them,
right.
I take it you work pretty well with them.
And I think it goes along with the Senate at large. We tend to try and get consensus. It doesn't always work, but when I was in the Senate, I always served in the minority. So you have to learn to find ways to move a piece of legislation along, but also just knowing that what you may be arguing about today, you may be on the same side of tomorrow. So it's in your best interest to try and find consensus.
And in addition to having few power, really almost no powers outlined in the Constitution or its statute, and a modest salary, shall we say. Really, the whole office you have only one full-time staff person?
Yeah, I sometimes joke with my chief of staff that the entire staff is when we have different functions is behind me, and that's because there's only one staff member. But we do a lot of work. Again, it's constituent work, constituent services, and that's been a lot of what we do in the office. People that feel as though they have run into a brick wall, don't know where else to turn, will contact us because they don't know how much power we have, and they've just automatically come to the conclusion that the person with the number 2 plate must have an incredible amount of power and get things done. But it has been able, with my position on the cabinet, as well as my ability to network with many legislators, we've been able to at least open doors for people. And that, for Vermonters, I think they just want to be heard at times. And sometimes you can't fix their problem. Sometimes you can't, solve everything that comes across your desk. But if you can give them a forum and at least get a door open so that a secretary or a commissioner can hear what they have to say, it at least leaves them with the satisfaction that somebody is listening.
So when you say they don't know how much power you have, they don't know how little power you have.
That's correct. Either way.
And still, so they go to you because they're having a problem with some state agency, just not getting through.
That's
very
right.
often.
And very frustrated.
And just because you know these people, and you can often get them through at least so that they get a bit of a hearing.
And when I talked about the cabinet position when Governor Shumlin was first elected, he and I served in the Senate together, so we know each other very well. Right. And he asked if I would consider serving on the cabinet, and that was to the surprise, I think, of many in my party, many in his party.
Right.
And he was condemned. I was condemned, but I think what we both again came to the conclusion that we were elected to serve Vermonters, and we could best serve Vermonters by trying to work together. And it doesn't mean that I agree with everything that the governor says, but at the same time, it does allow me the opportunity to voice my opinion. Sometimes they use me as a litmus test, and at times just being able to get to know some of those commissioners and secretaries is extremely beneficial for the constituent work that I was speaking about.
So you get to speak your piece at these meetings?
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, they've treated me very well. And again, it's not that they agree at all with what I might have to say, but they listen. And again, I don't have the governor's ear, except to voice my opinion respectfully. And he understands where I'm coming from. We have some good discussions, but again, at least he knows where I stand.
So you are not you don't claim to be a close advisor to Peter Shumlin.
No, but he'll call at times and ask my opinion about things because he knows that I'm close to the people. I get out an awful lot, and I think that with some of my background, I tend to be one of the somebody from the working class, and he respects that.
So you have had some, you've made some power, even though the office itself gives you rather little.
Yeah, and again, when I was in the Senate, I have always served in the minority, and I was put in a position of leadership halfway through, and it wasn't. It was lopsided then, and it wasn't because they necessarily agreed with my philosophy. It was more that they trusted me, and that's where I think you can make the significant gains by not playing political games, but working towards, again, consensus, trying to bring people together. I did it in the Senate. I was given a leadership position, Vice Chair of Transportation, Chair of the Institutions Committee, one of only 2 Republicans to do so. And Peter Welch was the pro tem at the time, and we got along very well and served on committees together.
You have not primarily used your whatever influence and the pulpit that you have, I don't know whether it's a bully pulpit, but it's a pulpit of some kind, to advocate for or against issues.
Right.
Is that a conscious decision on your part?
It's just part of the way I'm built, I guess, and it's hard to explain. I feel as though we have enough activists in Montpelier under the Gold Dome. There's a fair amount of ego that drives a lot of people.
Really? I never noticed
I know
that.
you wouldn't notice that, but there are. Trust me.
Okay.
So I just feel as though there's a position open. It's chemistry as much as anything else, and I feel I sometimes describe the office of Lieutenant Governor as Switzerland. We're almost like a neutral country. We bring people together, whether it's people in the Senate that may be having some personality issues, or bring them together, try to work things out, or committee to committee, try to work that out. Or between the Senate and the House, there's a huge dynamic there. It doesn't have anything to do with political party. It has more to do with the one house versus another.
Right.
And then you have the other dynamic that even though Peter Shulman came from the Senate and the House originally, there's the administration and the legislature. So there's all kinds of dynamics working, and I feel as though with my personality and the office and the way I use it and the trust that many people have in the way I do business, that they confide in me and can bring people together to head things off sometimes before they happen. And that's not something you keep track of, but it's just part of the way I do business.
And finally, let me just ask you, there are 5 states, I believe, that don't have a lieutenant governor.
Right.
Including our neighbor to the east,
New Hampshire,
right across the river.
And Maine
and
as
Maine.
well.
Could we do without a lieutenant governor?
Well, you probably could, but you don't have to look back too far to see when Governor Snelling passed away. Howard Dean was lieutenant governor at the time and became governor. So I think there's a need for somebody to assume the position. During times of crisis with Irene, I think it was incredibly helpful to have a lieutenant governor such as myself that worked with the governor. We split up the state, moved in different directions geographically, and it means a lot to people to have you to come to their community to offer help and assistance, and there's just been a number of times when that's happened, and maybe it's just again because of my background, but I feel as though I was the right person at the right time. Now there are different
because you know how to move earth around.
Yeah,
and things like that.
I do that and make things happen.
Right.
I'm a problem solver. That's what I like to do. And I'm much less interested in creating controversy. I'm more interested in trying to work for Vermonters and get things done. So I again during that time I think that was helpful, but I see there are different dynamics throughout the country. Some serve with the governor, are elected with the governor. Some are elected separately, like Vermont. Most are elected with the governor. And,
right. Do you think it would be an advantage?
Well, again, I guess it depends.
Right.
With my personality, I don't think it's really mattered. But because I've seen, members, Brian Doobie was of the same party.
Right.
Doug Racine was of the same party as Howard Dean, and I'm not sure that the dynamics were much different. Again, with just the way I'm built.